What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are reacting to why Americans don't sound British anymore. There's going to be a very interesting video.
Your ancestors are originally British people.
They were.
What happened to the accent?
What happened? Where did it go? Where did it all go?
We could have all sounded the same.
But then maybe we might not be as entertaining because a lot of people like us for our accents.
Oh.
So maybe it's a good thing.
We're different then, right? Yeah.
Before we get into it.
Make sure you smash the subscribe and follow button. Hype up this video.
Here's a sentence almost every American has said at some point. We used to sound British, and then we changed. Wrong. Almost backwards, actually. If you traveled back to 1776 and stood in a Boston tavern, or a Virginia courthouse, or a London coffee house, here's what you notice. The Americans and the British sounded remarkably similar. Not identical. Regional accents already existed on both sides of the Atlantic, but close. Close enough that a founding father and a British lord would have recognized each other's speech as fundamentally the same kind of English. Now, here's the part that breaks people's brains. If one side of that conversation was going to change dramatically over the next 100 years, it wasn't the Americans. It was the British. The posh British accent you hear today, the one that sounds like the original, the authentic, the one America supposedly drifted away from, didn't exist yet in 1776. It was invented.
You know, it's funny. Someone actually commented that on one of our videos yesterday. And they said, we're the ones that strayed away from the American accent. And I was really confused by that. But then we're reacting to this video and she's literally saying the same thing, which is very interesting.
We were meant to sound American.
And then we started changing the way we speak, which is very fascinating. Guys, do we sound posh? Would you like a cup of tea with those biscuits?
Excuse me, sir. Would you like some tea?
Afterward. By a specific class of people in a specific city for a very specific reason. Americans didn't lose the British accent. The British accent, as most people picture it today, hadn't been born yet.
Right.
Welcome to the Airlearn Language Show.
Very interesting.
Fascinating.
We're going to learn.
Yeah.
Today, we're tracing exactly when American and British English split apart, and the story is not one you were taught. It involves a dictionary writer with a chip on his shoulder, a sound that quietly vanished from English, an entire social class in London deciding to talk differently on purpose, and an accident of geography that means some American cities, for a while, sounded more British than America itself. And if this kind of thing, the hidden story behind how people actually talk, is what gets you interested in language, Airlearn's built exactly around that. Structured lessons that build on each other properly, trivia and facts about the language woven right into the lessons, and call with air so you can actually have a spoken conversation instead of just tapping through exercises. Links
very
in the description.
Interesting.
Now,
let's
go back to the beginning, before there was an American accent or a British one, just English. In the early 1600s, when the first English colonists landed at Jamestown and later Plymouth, they weren't bringing over a foreign language that would slowly turn into something else. They were bringing over English, the same English being spoken in London, Bristol, and the English countryside at that exact moment. And critically, that English was rhotic, meaning speakers
English
pronounced the R sound wherever it appeared in a word. Car, hard, mother. Every R got spoken fully, the way most Americans still say it today. This matters because non-rhotic English, the R-dropping style that says ka instead of car, the style that most people associate with a...
I've never thought of how I say my R's. Car.
Car.
Car. You say your R. I don't.
Car.
Car. I'm not really saying my R like...
I've never heard anyone say car in my life.
Car.
I'll be honest.
Car.
I've never heard anyone say that.
You know what it reminds me of?
In the UK.
No, I feel like I've seen like... Sometimes when I'm watching like TV or something or whatever I'm watching, like older people, like an old English lady.
Car.
And she'd be like... No, she won't say that. It was more the car.
But you just pronounce your
car.
Car.
But I feel like
you
it's
know
like
what?
very old
fashioned. I'm going to go to my neighbours and I'm going to talk to them about cars. I'm going to see how they pronounce cars. They're like the older generation, and they're proper
they're like
English.
white English.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, you know, what do you... I'm just talking about cars. I'm going to really hear how they say car.
There are. Just listen to the R's.
Posh British accent did not exist yet. Shakespeare English was rhotic. The King James Bible was translated by rhotic speakers. If you'd asked an Elizabethan Londoner to say father, it would have sounded closer to a modern American father than a modern British one. So the accents didn't start apart and converge. They started together. What happened next is that an ocean got involved, and oceans are one of the most powerful forces in linguistics, not because water changes how people talk, but because distance slows down how fast accents can copy each other. Here's something most people don't know. Colonial America wasn't settled by one wave of English people speaking one uniform English. It was settled by waves from different parts of England, arriving in different colonies at different times, and each wave brought its own regional speech patterns with it. New England was settled heavily by Puritans from East Anglia, the eastern counties of England. Their speech patterns, including certain vowel sounds and rhythms, took roots in Massachusetts and Connecticut and are still detectable in New England accents today.
Interesting.
The Chesapeake colonies, Virginia, Maryland, drew more heavily from the west and south of England, including a substantial number of indentured servants and later enslaved Africans, whose linguistic contact reshaped the region's speech in its own direction. And later, in the 18th century, a massive wave of Scots-Irish immigrants from the Ulster regions.
This is probably where it all went left, because the Scots and the Irish, the way they talk is very different.
Yeah.
So they probably just came and done a big spin on the language and the accents and stuff like that.
Of Ireland, originally Scottish lowlanders, poured into Pennsylvania and then down through the Appalachian backcountry. Their speech patterns are a huge part of why Appalachian English sounds the way it does today. And linguists have long noted its similarities to Scots and Northern Irish speech. So even before we get to any split between America and Britain, America itself was never one accent. It was several different regional English dialects, transplanted across an ocean, and left largely alone to keep evolving independently.
It makes sense.
Well, England kept evolving too, but in its own direction. That's the setup. Now here's where it gets genuinely surprising. Sometime in the late 1700s, right around the time of the American Revolution, and continuing into the early 1800s, something started happening to English speech in and around London that had never happened before. Wealthy, social, prominent speakers in southern England began dropping the R sounds after vowels. Not everywhere, not all English speakers, specifically among the upper class and increasingly the aspirational middle class of southeastern England, centered on London. Linguists still debate exactly why this happened. Sound changes rarely have one clean cause, but the leading explanations point to prestige and fashion. As London grew into...
So if we speak like that, would be considered prestige and fashionable, trendy. Can you do it?
Do what?
Ka.
Ka.
Drop the R's. Drop the R's completely.
I ran into my cat.
That sounded really bad. Don't ever do that again.
Enormous, wealthy imperial capital, its elite began cultivating speech patterns that marked them as distinct from the common rhotic speakers around them, and crucially, distinct from the increasingly independent Americans across the Atlantic. Dropping the R became stylish. It became a sound you made if you wanted to signal status. This new non-rhotic style spread through exactly the channels that spread prestige dialects everywhere. Elite schools, high society, and eventually the aristocracy's expectation that well-bred speech sounded a certain way. By the Victorian era, this style had a name and a machine behind it, received pronunciation, standardized and formalized through England's public school system. Look at that timeline again. The American colonies declared independence in 1776.
Yeah.
The R-dropping, non-rhotic accent most people now think of as the British accent didn't fully solidify as the prestige standard until decades after that, well into the 1800s. Americans didn't drift away from that accent. That accent hadn't been invented yet when America left. While British English was quietly reinventing itself through class fashion, something very different and very intentional was happening in America. A school teacher and lexicographer named Noah Webster looked at the new United States and decided it needed something no country had really tried before: its own linguistic identity, deliberately built. In 1783, Webster published what became known as the Blue-Backed Speller, a widely popular school book that standardized American spelling and pronunciation for generations of schoolchildren. In 1828, he followed it with an American Dictionary of the English Language, a full formal declaration that American English was its own legitimate standard, not a colonial.
Big respect for him though, because like they put their foot down and they just said, you know what, we need our own thing rather than relying on, the Brits coming over and teaching different styles of English. And they said, no, we need something formal for us, because they obviously left Britain and became independent. And there you have it. And that's why there's certain spelling inconsistencies between the two languages, such as color. They spell it COLOR with COLOUR.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I do our titles for our reactions, they're like, oh, I've seen a comment here and there on certain words. They're like, oh, you misspelled it. Then I literally do an AI replies, like I copy and paste saying, this is the English standard for the UK and America's different, But it's because of stuff like this, which makes sense.
Imitation of London's. Webster wasn't neutral about this. He believed a newly independent nation should sound and spell differently from the empire it had just broken away from.
Fair.
As a matter of identity, almost as a matter of principle. He deliberately simplified spellings. Color became color.
As you said.
Theater became theater. Defense became defense.
Yeah.
Some of these were genuine simplifications. Others were closer to acts of cultural assertion. Either way, they were choices made by one man with a specific goal: give America linguistic independence to match its political independence.
I like that.
So while London's elite was moving towards non-rhotic speech as a class marker, Webster was actively engineering American English to feel distinct on paper. Spelling, vocabulary, and pronunciation guides that pushed in their own direction. Two English-speaking populations, one quietly reinventing itself through elite fashion, one being actively, deliberately rewritten by a man with a printing press and a mission. Here's the twist inside the twist, and it's the part that makes the American accents today so wonderfully uneven. Not every part of America ignored the new London prestige accent. Some coastal American cities, the ones that kept the closest cultural and trade ties to England well into the 1800s, actually picked up the new non-rhotic style. Boston is the clearest example.
Oh, Boston.
The Boston Brahmin elite, closely tied to English trade, English universities, and English high culture, adopted non-rhotic speech patterns in the 19th century, the same way London's upper class had. That's the linguistic ancestor of the accent you hear in Park the Car in the Harvard Yard. It's not a corruption of American English. It's a preserved copy of a British prestige trend that crossed the ocean.
I've never had to hear that back.
I've never heard
preserved
anyone
copy
speak
of
like
a
that.
Yard. Linguistic ancestor
But I feel
of
that's
the
like the
accent you
old
hear
way.
in Park the Car in the Harvard Yard.
Park the car in Harvard Yard. So they skipped the R's completely. No one talks like that in our generation.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for free.
But even in like my mum's generation, no one speaks like that. And your mum's generation. Your mum don't
they're
talk
the
like
same
that.
generation.
Huh?
My mum and your mum are the same generation. They're around the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said your mum's generation. Oh, and your mum's generation as if they're different.
Yeah, so
as if
basically
as if my mum's 200 years old. They're in the same generation.
Our mum's generation.
Yeah, there you go. They don't talk like that either.
I've never heard
From my
anyone speak like that in my life.
My dad don't speak like that. He was born in the UK.
Yeah.
Zero. He's British.
Yeah.
Don't speak like that.
It's not a corruption of American English. It's a preserved copy of a British prestige trend that crossed the ocean. New York did something similar in some historical dialects, and so did parts of the American South, particularly among old plantation aristocracy that modeled its speech on English gentility. Traditional Southern coastal accents around Charleston and the Tidewater region of Virginia carried non-rhotic features for the same reason. continued cultural emulation of England's upper class long after political independence. So the honest
Just
map.
to add, we said obviously we don't know people that spoke like that. She's saying that's an upper class thing. Like upper class, we're talking people who live in Knightsbridge stuff. I've got a few friends
I've never heard anyone speak
Fats
like that.
works in-
I worked in Knightsbridge.
Fats worked in like super high
But I
luxury.
think this is of that time though.
I know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm talking about this generation. Fats has worked in very upper class, like top luxury places. I have friends who went to very high private schools, you know, the top ones you hear about in America, and they don't talk like that.
No, they
But
don't.
then again, it's a different generation. Maybe the higher class back then.
But even I swear, Ollie and Josh, they went private school and everything.
They're in private school.
But
But they're
technically
around
that's
our age though, isn't it?
no, but technically that's upper class.
There
no?
is upper class.
Yeah, if you go private school, you're
Private-
technically upper class.
Upper class education.
Yeah, and they don't talk like that.
Yeah, but this is our generation. Maybe the generation back before.
Yeah, I
upper
think
class.
that's of that time.
Of
They
that
used to speak
time,
like
it's
that. But
very
now
different.
I don't hear anybody talk
Yeah,
like that.
we're talking about now because we could
Yeah.
talk about now.
Yeah.
Since we're present.
Of American English isn't everyone kept the old accent except Britain changed. It's messier and more interesting. Pockets of America copied Britain's new fashion, while the vast American interior, the frontier, the westward expansion, the regions with less ongoing contact with London high society, kept the older rhotic pronunciation largely intact. If regional accents were already this fragmented by the 1800s, how did America end up with what most people now think of as the American accent? The relatively neutral, rhotic, Midwestern inflected sound you hear from national news anchors. The answer is 20th century technology, not history. As radio and later television spread across the country in the early to mid 1900s, broadcasters needed a standard that would sound neutral to the largest possible audience. What became known as the general American, rhotic without strong regional markers, was promoted heavily through national broadcasting, aviation communication standards, and later Hollywood as the default American voice. This had a leveling effect. Regional accents didn't disappear, but a broad, non-regional standard became the accent of national authority. The evening news, the airline pilot, the corporate training video. It's rhotic because most of the American interior was always rhotic. It just needed a delivery system to become the American sound in popular imagination. Meanwhile, in Britain, the BBC did something almost identical with received pronunciation starting in the 1920s, cementing a specific class-coded accent as the voice of national broadcasting, reinforcing exactly the non-rhotic's prestige standard that had emerged a century earlier. 2 countries, 2 broadcast systems, 2 different accents, each treated by its own population as simply how English sounds, when both were, in their own way, manufactured standards layered on top of far messier regional realities. So here's the honest answer to why don't Americans sound British anymore? It's not that Americans changed and Britain stayed still. It's that both sides changed.
Yeah, both
just
changed.
in opposite directions, in different timelines, for different reasons. American English, in large parts of the country, preserved features closer to 17th and 18th century English speech, the rhotic R in particular, simply because the American interior had less ongoing contact with the trends reshaping London's elite. British English, especially the prestige versions most people picture, moved further from that shared starting point, adopting a new class-marked, non-rhotic style after independence, not before it. And in Noah Webster's deliberate project to make American English visibly its own thing. And in the pockets of coastal America, Boston, parts of New York, the Old South that copied the new British fashion anyway, creating some of the most recognizable old money American accents. And in the 20th century broadcast technology, which took the fragmented reality on both sides of the Atlantic and flattened each into a single national standard accent. None of it is one clean story. All of it is real. The next time someone tells you Americans lost the British accent, you'll know the more interesting truth. In some very real, very measurable ways. It's the other way around. And the accent people think of as the original, the authentic, the one everyone drifted away from, was still being invented by London's upper class, while America was busy becoming its own country. Every accent
Makes
is a
sense.
record of who talked to whom and when contact stopped. American and British English are the same language, standing in two different rooms, each one shaped by exactly who walked in and out of the door. If tracing one accent back through centuries of history made you want to actually pick up a new language of your own, AirLearn teaches it contextually.
Very good video. Very informative. And
Yeah, I never knew. It's very interesting.
we learned a lot on that.
Well, after this, I'm going to get in the car.
Guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. We are back tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe and support the channel if you aren't already. Fancy passwords.
Have a beautiful day.
Peace
We'll see you tomorrow.
out.
Bye.